One missing chapter changed everything. Before Romans, before Corinthians, before Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, before Paul becomes the voice behind half the New Testament, Paul hits pause. The light fades, the blindness lifts, but the shock doesn't. Because if what happened on that road was real, then Saul of Tarsus believes he just encountered the risen Jesus, the one Christians call Messiah. Years later, Paul writes his own timeline, and he's defending where his gospel came from. I conferred not with flesh and blood, neither went I up to Jerusalem to them which were apostles before me. But I went into Arabia, and returned again into Damascus. That's alibi one, withdrawal. Not necessarily isolation from people, isolation from Christian authority. No Jerusalem, no apostles shaping the story. Then he adds the clock. Then after 3 years, I went up to Jerusalem to see Peter. That's alibi 2. Time, a 3-year gap before Jerusalem. Then he sets the contact limits. Galatians 1:19. But other of the apostles saw I none, save James, the Lord's brother. That's alibi 3, limited contact. And Acts confirms the human reality underneath it. They were all afraid of him, and believed not that he was a disciple. Of course they were. He'd been the threat. The villain walking into the camp of the hunted. So what happened in Arabia? The text doesn't narrate it. Paul doesn't dramatize it. And that silence is the hinge, because Paul knew the scriptures by memory. So picture the mental corkboard, running the Old Testament like evidence, trying to make sense of Damascus. Isaiah 53:5. He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. Psalm 22:16. They pierced my hands and my feet. There are many more, but even this is enough to feel the weight. If you were Paul, you'd be replaying what you memorized, asking if the Jesus you rejected matches the scriptures you claimed to defend.
Move it!
And this is where the Christian heartbeat shows up, because every real conversion has a private room. A season where you wrestle with what you've seen and what it costs to admit you were wrong. God gives second chances that social systems rarely give. Not because love ignores the past, but because love is willing to rebuild a person out of it. That's why Paul hits so many people hard. Convicts, addicts, the ashamed, the violent, the broken. Because if Saul can become Paul, then the door is still open. And for skeptics, here's the counterweight. We can't read Arabia like a diary. We can't prove what he thought under that sky. All we can do is trace what the record actually gives. His timeline claims, his limited access to the apostles, and what comes out of the silence when he returns to Damascus. Because whatever happened in that gap, it produced a man who stopped hunting Christians and started suffering like one. And that's why this pause matters. The silence produced a witness. If you made it this far, you already know this case runs deeper than one scene. The full investigation is on the channel. And there are more files on the desk. If you want in, subscribe, hit the bell, and keep the case open.